in any of the situations, because you never know if someone will have that for you, and if you need to fight for your script, so I think that's definitely something to know. Yeah.
But don't you listen to it's like when the script is read with the actors, sometimes it does change.
Yes.
So you do listen to and because we write constantly, it's like our interpretation was written 11 times during a period of 3 days. I kept rewriting and changing some stuff. So I'm pretty sure you had something similar.
That's actually one thing I do change, the dialogue, because it's like when I write it, it's kind of coming through me. So I'm actually shooting my next film next week, and I do extensive rehearsals with the actors. Like for me, we rehearse on Zoom all the time, and their natural cadence might be different, and I'm not gonna force an actor to talk like how I would talk if it just doesn't sound natural. So it's like when I hear them reading it, if something is just off, I'll change it. Yeah, I'll just figure out their cadence and just how they say stuff, and then just edit it, and it always makes everything so much better. So yeah.
I was going to say it depends on the situation. So I've been on the side of no, I can't pay that guy anymore to spend any more time on it. We have to let it go. I've been on the other side where I've said, all right, fine, it's just words, I'll find new ones. Because there were plenty of times where I've written things that I thought were clear as day and were clear as mud. So I'm just happy when people find it's clear as day. And if I can make it clearer, I'll make it clear. This is all about collaboration.
Regarding what we're talking about, I've never had one of my pieces of work directed by someone else, but I have directed other screenwriters' pieces of work. And something that's very important to me is I love meeting with, I love, if I can, having the screenwriter on set, or at least meeting with them as much as possible. It is a collaborative effort doing film stuff, and it's very important to me that we're coming together as creatives to not only bring the piece of work of writing to life, but also, the understanding of what I'm doing as directing it. So that's the little piece to have this conversation.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I direct my scripts because of that. But I think that having feedback is valuable regardless. Especially, you might think that something is really clear, and then you give it to other people and nobody understands what's happening. But at the end of the day, feedback is only a suggestion, and you take what is useful and leave the rest.
Yeah, I love for the script just sending it to different people, and if certain feedback repeats more than once, or it's multiple times, then obviously, that's definitely something to be looked into, because it might be super clear to you, like you said, but for other people it might not be clear. So yeah.
I do that too. I have everybody read it, and the family and professionals and the team around it, and before it gets to the actors.
Oh, okay. I feel like we are covering a lot of ground.
But we can talk about the process. I can go very technical, when you start writing the scripts. Like I said, I write the story, and then I switched it. I write all my movies in French, and then I translate them to English. And I don't use Google Translate. Don't worry. And I know that there are many. We can talk technical. When you write scripts, in what programs you use. I use Microsoft Word. And I know it's like a big no-no, but I'm so easy with it. It's already, the template is done. How come? I'm interested to know other people. Do you have script software exactly to do that, or you just write?
I've been using Final Draft. That's the industry standard for the last few years. Yeah.
I was too cheap to pay.
Well, luckily I've had, been able to use that through my school, so that is nice. But because of that, I'm gonna have to kind of think about what I need to actually do and what I need to spend my money on for myself when I'm not in school. But I actually really like just getting a fresh notebook and starting there. I don't like having anything else in the notebook. I want it to be a clean slate and then start there. And then that's when I can go into the program and have it fill it out and do all the technical stuff for me. But when I can actually like get the basics down, I'd like to start it with a fresh book first.
I am also a Final Draft user, love Final Draft, but I also agree with the notebook stuff too. I feel like, as I was saying earlier, with each project, it's so different. I'll have beats written maybe in my phone notes or even on like a notebook or something like that, but just translating that into, Final Draft and everything like that. I think there's so many ways to get your ideas down, and if any of you out there have ideas that you're writing, and it just pops in your head, please write it down. You don't know if you're going to forget it, and I think it's so important to make sure that you keep those things with you. And even if you don't know how to write a script right now, getting those ideas or those story beats down, you can learn how to do it, and I think more stories need to be shared in the world.
I started out with Final Draft, but I switched to Writer Duet for a couple reasons. One, because I had a writing partner, and it's a little bit more intuitive when you have multiple writers working on the same project. But I found Final Draft to be a little frustrating because while they had an app for your iPad or your phone, it wasn't real-time updating. It wasn't until you logged on the next time that the updates were there. Writer Duet, everything's real-time, whether you do it on your laptop, whether you do it on your iPad, on your phone. It's there almost immediately, and a little more user-friendly, I think.
I also use Final Draft. That's like my go-to. But before that, I used Celtics, which is free.
Speaking of the writing process, do you guys have any more like tips or tricks? So something I like to do, and I did this in, what's the software that you were talking about? Yes, I used to use Writer Duet for years before I switched to the Final Draft a couple years ago. I really liked it too. But my tip is in Final Draft, assigning voices to the characters and having it like read back to you. And even though it's like a little robotic, and there's another software called Read Through that you could like put your script into and have it, assign it voices. For me, it just really helps to just like lay down and just like listen to the whole script as the characters are talking. That is my like #1 tip. It just helps me. I just need to hear it, and then I'll like edit certain things. But yeah.
That's quite cool. I don't have that in Word. It's the voices that fight in my head. I fight with myself all the time.
Like more tips and tricks. I think, like I was mentioning, fully building yourself in the story. Also, that voice thing sounds really cool, and I kind of want to try that. That sounds really cool. I found it really cool to, especially with character building, create like maybe even playlists with kind of the sounds you want, even just for the characters or for the main vibes of your story. Looking at art is another thing that I find really, really interesting to build up more. Check out local art museums too. I do that a lot to kind of indulge more in what I'm writing, what I'm doing. Honestly, I'm just gonna say, like, go out and explore. You don't know what you're gonna find and what real life things is gonna influence this kind of dream reality that you're creating, and I think it's really cool.
To stay on the read-through thing here, the thing that I like best for that is the computer reads it the way you typed it. For me, it's the best way to spell check, because if you put in some extra S's, it's going to say sentences, and I might not see it, but I can hear it. So that's what I primarily use the read-through for spell check.
I guess one thing I always recommend for people that are writing or can't get a spark or an idea, I always tell them to find their favorite movie score and turn it on and like write. Just listen to it, blast it, put it in your headphones or something, and just write. I feel like that's when you get the most inspired. Same thing with characters. You know, I think every character, as long as it's you base off a real person, like someone, even if it's not somebody that you have a friendship with or it's just an acquaintance, somebody that you just seen on the street and you have kind of already built like a backstory. Because I know everybody kind of sees someone and they kind of think of like, oh, what are they like in their mind? So I think you create those backstories off of real people, and that's what helps you. And then I have just thought of another tip in my mind, but I can't even think now. I was working on a period piece, a World War II movie, and I didn't think about how, like, you really, really have to do some research on what the slang is like and what the language is like. Because growing up in in the Southwest, in Arizona, we have lots of slang. We like to push our words together here. So, doing that research on what language they use in that territory in that time is very important. So I think that should be thought about at least in your final revision of your script.
I think it's very valuable that when you have your first draft to walk away from it for like a week or so, and then come back and read it and see all the things that you don't like and fix those, and then just keep doing that with each draft. And then in terms of getting ideas, my go-to is Pinterest. I love to just go on, like whenever I have writer's block, I'll go on there, find some images that interest me, put them on a board, and then connect them and create a story out of that. And that has given me a lot of ideas in the past.
That's quite interesting. We were saying that, when I have writer's block, I just stop and I write when it comes back. I never do research or try to stop my writer's block. I don't know if it's the same for you. You're saying you look at Pinterest, and it's quite interesting because in my case, if I don't know, I stop, and if it never comes back, then I never finish that script.
I don't really do research, but the walking away thing, because it's like if I'm stuck sometimes and I just don't look at it for like a week or so, when I come back, I'm just so full of ideas. It's just crazy, yeah. I'm wondering from you guys, like, what if someone wants to be a screenwriter, what has helped you in terms of like books, or maybe you watch movies and study that. For me, I think you can find free scripts of like films and famous films like online just for free, and sometimes having it open and like just following the format, just so the action lines and then the dialogue, see how many lines of dialogue is, so at least it's like kind of formatted or it flows, is something that's helpful. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely reading scripts and
Yeah.
for the format, for the way that they talk,
Yeah.
with the dialogue. And I did some in my art history. I did some movie script writing too, because we had some extra credits where you can do whatever you want. So that helped me a lot. Yeah, definitely. It's for the research that they were saying. It's like I have two movies. One is in the 1920s and one is in the 1970s. We definitely have to do completely research for the look, for the way they talk, for the subject. It's like I had a movie that was written in the beginning and the end. The story was in the 1980s, and then we changed it to 1970s. Then many stuff changed because in the 70s you cannot say some words and you cannot act the same way as the end 80s. So the research is very, very important when you do period pieces. For maybe surrealism, it's easier because we are quite free to. What was the question that I forgot already? I thought.
Oh, like what? Like a book or?
Oh yeah, well, I'm a movie buff. I love movies. It's really movie, and my art history background is really there. It's really there. I put a lot. So somebody who know art history in my movies, you will have like references, very subtle references, just for the fun of it. Yeah, and references, in the back, a picture or something. It's like probably nobody will notice it, but I know it's there. It's for the fun of it. And I like now my period of I love Japanese horror movies. Oh my God, it's so much fun. they were crazy, you know, in in that country in the 1950s and 60s. Oh my God, so much fun.
No, I completely agree. I also love doing that with art as well. I think it's so awesome. And I think you are getting the screenwriting and you're trying to figure out where to start, where to get ideas. I think watching your favorite movies, obviously, that's why you want to be a screenwriter, I'm guessing. Checking out those, trying to find the copies for those scripts, like you were saying, I think it's a great way to start. You can see how it's formatted, you can take that format into what you want to write. And try out different inspiration. If that's listening to music, reading, or looking at art, I think you can grab, like I've been saying, like you can grab inspiration from so many different things and just see what sticks. And even if your first or second script isn't formatted right or doesn't like connect all the way, just try and write what you can and formulate a story and get those beats down. And yeah, I think with writing, a lot of practice makes perfect with it. And yeah.
For me, it would be hard to recommend a book because the longer I've gotten into this, because the screenwriting structure is so different from a novel or a short story. It's free from white space that when I read a book now, whether it's nonfiction, whether it's how-to, or even this one about outlining a movie, I'm always arguing mentally with the author. I'm like, get to the point. I got it 10 pages ago. Move on. So I agree. Read scripts. If you're writing in a thriller genre, watch movies that are thrillers. Read thrillers. If you're looking to do something more light, find something light. Because the scripts are out there. You just read them. Simple as that.
What is one of the hardest things about writing or completing a script for you, or just like one of the biggest challenges for me, especially when I'm writing science fiction? It's like I think I'm done, and then I'm like, oh, this doesn't make sense, you know, because it's like you have to explain the rules, and then it's like, so if I fix that rule, then something else is kind of off. So it's just, yeah, I feel like I find that the most difficult, just making sure it's all like cohesive and all the rules of the universe are like followed. So yeah.
Well, I think for me, the hardest part is just getting to the final part of the script where it's more technical and where it can be greenlit and where it's perfect, something that is workable and something you can monetize. But, you know, I'm never really doing that, and that's not my goal. So I never really have to get to that endpoint, so I have a little more flexibility with my scripts, which is nice. But when it comes to that point where I need to be professional and have my script be perfect for when I can give it to production companies and whatnot, or whatever, I think that's the hardest part for me. But I think, going back to the last question, I come from musical theater, so I think we can learn a lot from theater, and I think you can learn a lot just even getting scripts from theater and reading that, but how little of a time frame you have in Broadway shows or theater shows. They do a lot in production in that little time frame, and you learn a lot from that. So I think that's another way to look at it too, is kind of how theater has, I guess, a little more pressure than I think when screenwriters they have a little more time to work with that, and I think theater definitely has its expectations.
I think the hardest part about writing a script for me is always the beginning and the end. I have a terrible problem with cliffhangers. I end a lot of my scripts on those, and I'm trying to get better about it. The beginning, I mean, if you're submitting to a festival or a fellowship or just to be produced, they're not going to read the whole script. They're just going to read like the first page or the first couple pages. Sometimes my scripts, they start pretty slow. And so figuring out how to put someone immediately into the story in like the first couple pages is really important.
This will sound really silly, but I spend way too much time researching names for characters. Way too much time. I understand it's an obsession. I don't want just the name, I want a reason for that name. So yeah, sometimes it's I enjoy sitting in front of the blank page, the first page, because there's so much out there. But I've also probably spent way too many hours trying to figure out, is it Andy or Andrew? Andy, Andrew. Which one's more wholesome?
I think regarding my scripts that I write, a lot of the things I run into is there's so many different outcomes from beginning, middle, and end that you can go through, and different scenes that you can have that could create more conflicts for the characters, or create more stakes for the characters, or even just happy moments for the characters. And I think the biggest struggle that I face is sitting there and trying to figure out what's right to keep and what's right to cut, and what's going to further the story and what's going to kill the story. So it's a lot of that kind of 50-50 kind of feelings with that. But and I think it's great to receive feedback from fellow screenwriters as well with your scripts, to kind of see like, hey, where is this going? What makes this stronger? Is it great if I remove this scene or keep this scene in? And yeah, it's just kind of figuring out the right format for where you're at. And obviously, once it leaves post-production, things could change, things get cut. But that's probably the biggest struggle that I struggle with when I write.
For me, it's a little bit funny because my biggest challenge is that I don't follow any rule of script writing. I really write whatever I want. And I wrote a script which has not been produced yet, because I do auto-produce my movies in general, and I do ask for grants, which we don't get them all the time from the Canadian government. But so the major problem I had with one of my scripts is it talks about suicide. So it's a person which is based on me. I'm not suicidal, but I based it on me, and the character develops from bad to worse to worse to worse to worse to worse. And then I had it read by a friend who is a director, a famous director in Montreal, and she told me, well, you know, you're not following any rule of movie. Every 12 minutes you have to give hope to the audience. Here you're going to depress everybody, and everybody's going to end up, your audience is going to end up dead. You know, you're going to depress them that much. I said, but I don't care. That's the story. That's the character. You know, somebody who's suicidal in his last 24 hours, he's not going to have hope every 12 minutes. You know, well, for me, that was hard because I don't follow the rules. So I'm like, should I start to be mechanical and not think about, you know, all the small steps, or should I just be free and do whatever I want? And if it's accepted, it's like it. It's not like. It's not, you know, it's like, that was hard to fight with myself about that process.
I'm excited to, is that your movie tonight? Or?
No, my movie tonight is about divorce. You know, I don't know, very dramatic. Actually, yeah, no, the suicide movie is, I'm still conflicted. My wife doesn't want me to do it. She's afraid. Because I put myself so much in these movies when we film them, and so she doesn't want me, but you know, I can convince her eventually, you know.
I feel like my film Paint, yeah, it's similar. That's what I was asking. So it started off getting a lot of backlash, actually, but then it just started, yeah, the opposite. So it's interesting. Yeah.
So, I think that's it then.
Yeah.
Any questions from the...
Oh.
I have a question. So if you're somebody new who's writing and just writing in a notebook and everything, but would like to possibly turn it into a script, what is the first thing they do? Besides maybe find an app? But what would be the first step to turning a story written in a notebook, just handwritten out, into a script, to start that process?
Maybe, this might be too simplified, but maybe write a log line for it, because there's something to, like you have kind of the story and the notes, but for me, just having a log line, like, you know, a present day, you know, woman falls in love with an early 1900s soldier. That's my upcoming film. But it's like just having that, it just, yeah, it kind of like really helps tie it together. And then it's like, for me, like I kind of just know more the beginning, middle, and end rather than just having more of this like arbitrary story and notes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, in my case, I write a full story. I write a full story as if I'm writing to publish a book. So once I write it, let's say you wrote a whole story on notes, or sometimes I use voiceover, you know, it's like I talk and then it writes because sometimes I'm in my car. Anyways, if we go back to the question, so I write the whole story and then I separate it in sections because the story evolves, you know, we start somewhere in a place and then it goes on. So I divide the scenes and I start writing on, I'm old school, I write on cards, you know, small cards. I write 1, 2, 3, each card is just like different kinds of scenes. Yeah, and I still do that and then I check, okay, and then should I move it, should I, so I don't always follow the processus, the process of the story, you know, it's like sometimes I change the scenes and then I write the dialogue. And so that's how I do it. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think assuming that it's a full story, or the log line and the synopsis is already written for the story you want to turn it into a script, I think for like a super beginner, I think the best way to kind of translate that just to a simple script, assuming that there's no knowledge of how to write a script at all, not even like interior day, none, yeah. I think there's some great resources online to kind of, you know, search that format and that kind of thing. And I think everybody here and every screenwriter in general has their own style of writing scripts, even if with the same format and that kind of thing. But there's like a style to it. There even like with the formatting, I think that's so beautiful to see in different writers. So I think if someone's really starting that early, just kind of get into the flow of it, of like the main format. And I think the beautiful thing about films is so many rules are made to be broken. None of them are like really set in stone. So I think that's a great opportunity to kind of build your own style, but start kind of more with the rules. I think that's the best way to go about it.
If I can add something, please go on YouTube. There's so many how to write a script, and they're good, and they're really good. You know, it's like they show you the format, how to write it, and some of them are 10 minutes, some of them are half an hour. And there's masterclass where you have to pay, but masterclass they teach you so much, and then you have famous directors that teach you and talk. It's fun to have that.
No, I completely agree. But yeah, just any resources you can get and really build your style after that. But just understanding the basics, I feel like even with cinematography and other things like that, understanding the main basics and then learning what rules you like breaking with your own personal style is the best way to grow.
I think for me, sticky notes are my best friend. So I like to find one part of the wall, even if it's the back of my door or something, if it's a blank space where I can write each of the significant parts of the script onto, or my story, onto sticky notes, I can see the beats better in the script. I can see the entire script, and if I have all those sticky notes there, I can move them too. I can move them around, and I can see where, okay, well, let's see what this part of the story would look like if it happened at this part of the story or whatnot. So having a place where I can just keep that chaos there and have it kind of just something I can come back to. I also like to get foam cords too, and then just put something on there if I need to tuck it in my closet or something, or even under your bed too. But something like that I think is really important, because in that way, like, I'm a visual learner and not everyone is like that, but seeing it visually I think can definitely change your perspective on your script.
Post-it notes were the best invention.
Yes.
Yeah, like everyone said, there's a lot of online resources to see how scripts are formatted and figure out, you know, how you want to do that. And then if this story is written kind of in like a novel style, the biggest difficulty in transitioning to screenwriting is learning how to simplify all of that. And this is going to sound weird, but I would suggest looking at children's books and seeing how they write their actions, because a lot of times it's very simple, like Joe walks across the street, period. Like you don't have to really go into a lot of detail that novels would. So yeah, kind of eliminating the fluff and just getting down to the basics.
Thank you.
And there's something called the story circle. I can't remember who originated it, but it's like a circle with I think it's 7 or 8 parts, and it just is the guide of like part number 1 is like a character is in their normal habitat, and then part number 2, but something happened. I don't know. It's just like an easy, the most simplified way to tell you how a story is supposed to go so that it's interesting, and that there's, you know, then the character is going through something and then they encounter something else and then something else. And just following that, I always do. And following that, just, yeah, at least you'll have the basis of like a good, like, you know, juicy story. So, yeah, the story circle, yeah.
I would say it depends on the type of learner that person is, because it's been said here again many times. If you're somebody who learns from books, I have a friend that I think's read every screenwriting, filmmaking book ever printed. She could tell you, if you wanted to talk editing, go to this one. If you want to talk about structure, go to this one. I argue with the author. I can't do the book thing. But if you're a visual learner, go to YouTube. If you're somebody who can listen, find the podcasts. The information's out there. But just be really careful, because there's plenty of people that are willing to help you learn this, and they'll take your money, and you'll go broke before you even break in.
Yeah, any other questions?
How much do you take into account the budget when you're writing? Do you not worry about it and then worry about it later? Like, a lot of the feedback I've gotten was, this is a very expensive sentence. So I eventually started writing like single locations to try and, you know, keep that budget down. How do you guys feel about it?
Because I direct everything that I've written so far, yeah, it's always, I write to locations and something, because I'm intending to shoot it, even if it's not that year, maybe the next year. So I kind of just write to what I know I can shoot. Even this current film that I'm shooting next week, it's like, yeah, the woman is in present day, but the guy is in 1900s Spain. So yes, it was like very concerning when I was like sending it to production. They were very concerned. But the way I wrote it, I was like, no, but if you just read it, like he was basically, the war had ended, World War I had ended, so we don't need to show all that. And he was kind of like on his farm the whole time. So it wasn't, yeah, it's something that I knew I could shoot, which I'm doing, like, so I always think about budgets. But if I wasn't directing it and I was just trying to sell it, I mean, I think I would still have it in mind, but maybe not as big of a concern as it is now. But I think, yeah, it's still just having it in mind.
In my case, in my first scripts, I just didn't even think about it. You know, it's like I just rolled whatever, and then once I started being the producer and the one who's putting the money, and then I said, oh, okay, this is cost. All my ideas are costing a lot. So it's dangerous. It's a dangerous game, because if you always write thinking about how much it costs, about cutting, then it cuts your creativity. But I do think, so now I write and then I rewrite, and then thinking about location, and it's like I saying, okay, we can cut that, put that here, to save money, because you know at the end of the day, it's a question of money. It's really or of not enough money. So that's the problem. But I do now think about it, and when I have friends that give me scripts with so many different sets, and it's like I do think about that, and we try to cut and to change for that.
I agree with that completely. I think in my case, I write and direct my own stuff a lot, and I always like to write down the dream idea of not trying to limit myself that, because I do see that with costing a lot, is you'll have these really eccentric stuff, and you're like, crap, it's gonna cost like $5,000, and you're like, maybe we should delete that one sentence, you know? But I also think it's a collaborative challenge for the crew and the cast involved is how can we pull off this insane idea for like $10, you know, like really, really low budget stuff, as low budget we can get. And I have done that with a lot of the projects I have done. Even Morning Glory, we filmed all of that except the outdoor stuff in my grandmother's living room so she could watch it. And then I'm rewatching it and I'm like, we filmed all of this in the living room? Like, we tried making this like jazz bar thing and like this really beautiful like beauty room. And I think it's very important not to limit yourself with that idea of cost, but to expand on, hey, how can we make this possible? And I think if you have a great team, great producers and everything like that, that is a very, very possible thing.
I would just say first, I would have never known you did that all in your grandmother's. That's amazing. That's talent. Gonna wrap it up. Okay, I would say the story tells you. But if it's 30 people terrorizing a couple, maybe 4 people can terrorize a couple. Yeah, you can rein it in a little bit, but let the story tell you. So, the giant hook is coming out.
Can I just see your mic for a second? So, can we have a round of applause for these fabulous filmmakers? Fabulous. All of them said yes to me. I was so grateful. I'm so grateful for all of them.